Embassy. This afternoon, there'll be a close look at this report. But there is good news for the Ghanaian money market. Government's latest Treasury bill oversubscribed by nearly 90%. That's coming up in business here on the Daily Brief. I am Kemeni Amano. You're welcome. You're watching the Daily Brief here on TV3. I am Kemeni Amano. Let's start off with the news summaries this hour.
The Office of the Special Prosecutor, OSP, has said it provided investigation and evidentiary assistance to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, of the United States, leading to the conviction of former Managing Director of Tema Oil Refinery, TOR. Asante Kwekubeko will be sentenced on November 10 by a United States federal jury in Brooklyn, New York. Meanwhile, Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai says the Attorney General Dr. Dominic Ayine is working with the United States counterparts to bring to book persons implicated in the bribery scheme related to the 2014-2017 power plant development contract between a Turkish energy company and the government. Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has reaffirmed government's commitment to deepening decentralization and strengthening local governments to improve public service delivery across the country. According to the Vice President, government is pursuing reforms to empower metropolitan, municipal and district assemblies with the resources, capacity and authority needed to respond effectively to the needs of citizens.
The government of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has begun to act. First, we have re-energized the Interministerial Coordinating Committee on Decentralization as an effective platform for coordinated national reform. Furthermore, we have increased the proportion of district assemblies common fund transferred directly to our MMDAs, providing them with greater resources for local development. We are also advancing the policy and legislative work required to deepen functional devolution, particularly in education, health, and roads.
The Minister for Tourism, Culture and Creative Arts, Jifa Ablagomashi, says Ghana recorded 1.3 million international tourist arrivals in 2025, an increase from the over 1.2 million arrivals recorded in 2024. According to the minister, the international tourist arrivals generated an estimated $4.34 billion in revenue for the country in 2025. The Pre-Tertiary Teachers Association (PRETAG) has given government until the end of August to address outstanding issues with their conditions of service and allowances. The association says its conditions of service expired in June, with negotiations yet to begin, while promise-deprived area allowances and promotion-related concerns remain unresolved.
We are all aware that the conditions of service for the pre-tertiary teacher in Ghana has expired in June 2026. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is yet to have a new agreement with us.
The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission tells us that they can only give a 10% increment to the digital allowance, which is only 800 Ghana cedis per year. And we are calling on government, we are calling the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Employment, Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, Ghana Education Service, to sit with us to resolve this matter. to prevent any industrial unrest.
Just gone by the news summaries here on the Daily Brief. Coming in now and really hot is Safua Boahin with the latest business news here on the Daily Brief. Safua, what's happening?
Yes, Kemini, thank you. We'll just go straight into the currency markets. Yes, and the dollar currently is selling at 11. The dollar currently is selling at 11 CD 76 pesos, also buying at 11 CD 75 pesos. We move to the pound, which is selling at 15 CDs 88 pesos and buying at 15 CDs 86 pesos. And the euro is selling currently at 13 CDs 60 pesos and also buying at 13 CDs 59 pesos. We quickly move to the global commodities where we have crude oil, which has gone up by $2.77 and is selling currently at $86.32 per cent, I beg your pardon, per barrel. We move to gold, which has gone up by $7.53 and is currently selling at $4,349 per ounce. And we move to cocoa, which has gone up by $6 and is currently being sold at $5,901 per ton. Let's now bring you our latest story where the government's latest return to the domestic money market has recorded another strong investor response, with bids reaching 11.636 billion cedis, representing some 87% oversubscription of its 6.217 billion cedis target. The outcome of tender 2019 marked government's 7th consecutive oversubscribed auction.
At the August 7, 2026 auction, government received 11.636 billion cedis in bids and accepted 9.418 billion cedis, equivalent to an overall acceptance rate of 80.9% of the initial borrowing target, as government raised additional funds to meet immediate maturing obligations and other budgetary needs. Subscription rate was 187.2%. Oversubscription rate was therefore 87.2% of total bids received. The 91-day Treasury bill attracted 3.701 billion citizen bids, with government accepting 2.362 billion cedis at a yield of 5.62%. The 182-day bill recorded 1.910 billion citizen bids, of which 1.191 billion cedis was accepted at a yield of 7.52%. The strongest demand was for the 364-day bill, which attracted 6.024 billion cedis, with government accepting 5.864 billion cedis at a yield of 12.98%. Compared with the previous tender 2018, yields have generally declined on the short-term maturities. The lower short-term yields, alongside the strong oversubscription, suggest that investor demand remains robust, even as government borrows at slightly lower rates on the short-term maturities.
Well, still on the matter, senior lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Eric Boachi-Yadom, says the government's 7 consecutive oversubscribed Treasury bill auctions point to limited investment opportunities in the economy. According to him, the strong demand for government securities also suggests that the government is increasingly crowding out the private sector from accessing available funds.
The continuous subscription of the Treasury bill rate for this past week, month tells us there's not much investment options for businesses, and it also shows the risk tolerance for investors, that investors are now targeting more of a safety asset. That is why they are moving more into government Treasury bills. If we look at the Treasury bill rate, from the beginning of the year, started around 11%. Currently, we are doing around 5.76%, although it has fallen. But yet, the appetite for Treasury bill investment keeps going up. it shows that investors are rather more comfortable giving to the government than giving to private sector in the excess of over 10%. And if you look at the total private sector credit outstanding on a monthly basis from the beginning of the year, January to now, it has averaged around 110, maximum 120 billion Ghana cedis. When you look at the value of investment going to treasury bills, in some month 15, and last month it spiked up to 45 billion Ghana cedis. So it shows that more money is being moved to government securities, which is a concern that private sector will, number one, either they are unable to afford the rate that is given, or they may not get the necessary funds to invest in strategic sectors. And that's what I think government need to pay critical attention to, ensuring that funds reach private sector at a very low cost, and the banks are encouraged through probably the reducing the number or the value of treasury bills that are offered for subscription.
Let's now do some other business stories around the world in 60 seconds. And that'll be your 4 business news right here on Daily Brief on TV3. And I hand over back to Kemini Amano to continue.
Well, thank you very much, Safwa, for bringing us business news. We hope to see you here a little bit often. Safwa Buahin there with the latest business news here on the Daily Brief. Let's get into some big ticket stuff, because this afternoon we are hearing for the first time from the man who was at the helm of affairs when the AXA energy deal was brokered. Former Power Minister Dr. Kwabena Donkor denies any knowledge of a request or demand for any money as alleged in the U.S. indictment. The indictment that will see former TOR MD go to jail for up to 30 years in the U.S. I want to show you bits of that statement that we've seen from Dr. Kwabena Donkor's lawyers. He says, our client instructs us in very crystal clear language that he has absolutely no knowledge about the allegations linked to him. He completely and emphatically denies any knowledge of a request or demand for any money as alleged. Now, this statement from counsel for Dr. Kwabena Donkor also go on to say that our client accepts that he was the relevant minister at the time material. This is a matter of public record. And we have also said here that during that period that was investigated by U.S. authorities, Dr. Kwabena Donkor was power minister. Remember, it wasn't the energy ministry, it was power ministry at the height of doomsor in the country. The statement goes on to say, our client also admits that the state, through his then ministry, the Ministry of Power, negotiated with AXA Energy for the generation of electric power in Ghana during the relevant period. This was at the time when the country was going through the worst phase of what came to be termed as doomsor, the erratic power situation at the time. It was a time of extreme power emergency when the country experienced extreme load shedding. The statement goes on to talk about Dr. Kwabena Donkor further instructing his counsels that during the course of this negotiation, a technical team from all the electric power stakeholders in the country, and I want you to take note of that because we'll go over the technical team membership in a tad. Now, this team was sent to Istanbul, Turkey, to inspect the equipment which was to generate the required electricity in the country. This was and is the regular practice of pre-shipment inspection. According to our client, at no point in the course of this negotiation did he once set eyes on the said Mr. Asante Beko, nor has he since. Now, Mr. Asante Beko is the man who's been held for these crimes in the United States of America. He is to face a long jail term, possibly when he's sentenced on November 10th. But in this particular statement, Dr. Kwabena Donkor shares with us, he says, in very plain language, our client states very strongly and unambiguously that he has never met the said Asante Beko all his life. He never discussed any personal benefit, any value whatsoever with Asante Beko or any other person for that matter. He never authorized any person to discuss any such matters on his behalf. He never received any money in any denomination, any personal benefit of any value from Asante Beko or any other person. And any person or persons who may have made such criminal demand in his name did so for that person or person's own benefit, completely washing his hands off whatever we have heard from that indictment document. Our client, it goes on to say, does not understand that any evidence was led in the U.S. trial which linked him with demanding or receiving any money, cedis or dollars, or anything of value to him personally. He does not accept that evidence that some other person or persons claimed that the required money from their principals for the benefit of senior Ghana official or any other title metamorphosed into any evidence of criminality or wrongdoing against him. We are instructed to notify the general public accordingly and to state that any publication or statement of any kind which could be interpreted as contrary to the instructions clearly stated above and which will seek to impugn on the reputation and integrity of our client, take note of this, shall result in immediate legal proceedings. So that's what we've heard from the former Power Minister, Dr. Kwabena Donkor. Now, this statement comes on the back of a major international bribery case involving former TOR MD, as you may have noticed already, Asante Kweku Beko, and public officials at the time. Beko, who is facing up to 30 years in prison, will be sentenced later in this year, and you may have heard me talk about November 10th. The plan this afternoon is to talk to the council who authored the statement to us. Former Adansi Asokwa MP and head of Cavendish Chambers, the team of lawyers who drafted the former power minister's reaction to this matter. Again, he's denied any wrongdoing, denied ever knowing Asante Kweku Beko, the man who's been convicted of corruption-related charges in the U.S. He's denied ever asking anybody to take money on his behalf, and he has no idea how some people are able to link the undisclosed identity of senior government or Ghana official one to him. Now, there are questions to be answered, which is why we went to counsel Katie Hammond on this matter. Unfortunately, we are unable to raise him at this time. But the issue of statements do not end here, and I want to tell you why. Now, first, Ghana's Attorney General says the government is working with U.S. authorities to investigate the Ghanaian side of this case. But recall that it will not be the first time Ghana has found itself at the center of an international corruption scandal. Remember the Airbus scandal, when the British investigators uncovered allegations involving Ghana leading to a multi-billion-dollar settlement with Airbus. Ghana launched its own investigations, but no Ghanaian official was ultimately prosecuted. So there are questions to be answered whether or not this will be different. But let me run it back a little bit. When I told you that statements have come up, we also know that EOCO has spoken to this matter. And EOCO says, look, they acknowledge the public interest in this matter, but this is what is most important in that statement right now. They say last year, EOCO received a request from its counterparts in the United States in connection with investigations into the alleged bribery scheme. The request sought information relating to specific individuals in Ghana who were considered relevant to the investigations, including a former Minister of State and public servants. Hold on to that. my understanding is the former Adansia Sokwa MP and head of Cavendish Chambers, Katie Hammond, has joined us here. I appreciate your time, Katie. Good afternoon to you.
You.
Fantastic. Why has your client chosen to speak now?
I don't understand the question.
Well, I'd explain.
What does that mean? The matter came up only a couple of days ago.
That is not true, Katie. This matter came up in 2020 when Asante Beko was originally, when he became a person of interest in this matter. We know that at that time, Dr. Kwabena Donkor did not respond to anything from that indictment. Now that he's been convicted, my question is, why has he chosen now to speak?
Well, calm down. You're rushing through the statements. I don't quite get it. I mean, some matter came up in the year 2020, you say. Okay. So someone comes up. His name is not dragged in the mud anywhere. He had absolutely nothing to respond to. Now, we do hear that there has been a trial in America. There has been a conviction. And the process, something has come up, and his name is readily come up. So he explains, and you're asking me why is he taking, why is it that he's come up now? I don't quite get it. He's come out now because this is the time that he feels that his name has come up in this matter.
I see. In that statement to us, Honorable, your client denies knowing Asante Beko. He denies being on that trip to Turkey for the inspection. In fact, he says there was a technical team that did that. And in the indictment, we hear of Ghana official, one who is described as acting on behalf of the Ghana Ministry of Power and also an advisor to a high-ranking official in the Ghana Ministry of Power. Same for official 2, which means that your client had contributed 2 members of his team to this technical team that went to Istanbul. Who were they?
Listen, let me be careful. This statement is not on behalf of everyone. It's on behalf of one person, and he is Dr. Kwabena Donkor, who happened to have been the minister at the time material. Would explain that. As a matter of official knowledge, I mean, if you have any knowledge about how that ministry runs and the power sector and how purchases of electricity took place at the time, or even now, you would understand, you appreciate some of the issues involved. One institution, particularly the Ministry of Energy, Ministry of Power, they want to purchase any electricity, you would first invite the company which has a plant to come and have the discussions with the authorities in the country. It would always invariably be the ministry responsible for that. Power at the time or Ministry of Energy. And then a contingent. And the contingent was almost invariably be those who have technical knowledge of it. It is stated clearly in the document that you are seeing that those people who went would be the relevant stakeholders. Those will be ECG, those will be VRA, those will be PURC, all of them. Of course, they would have to go with the officers from the Ministry of Power at the time, because they would then have to come back, collect the results, and report to the appropriate minister. That's all there is. You're asking me who are they? I mean, it is public knowledge, and that list is not disputed. It is not contested, and this is there. Human beings did go on that particular journey to Istanbul to investigate the integrity of the plant that was going to be brought to this country to produce electricity for Ghana. That's what we're talking about. Be careful about the questions. Just be careful. Be careful about your questions.
Honorable, did your clients know that when they were taking that trip was not at the expense of the government of Ghana, but rather it was at the expense of the companies involved?
Do you know whether it is at the expense of the company or it was at the expense of the company or at the expense of the government of Ghana? Do you know that? You're asking whether he knew or he didn't know.
Well, based on what the indictment says, the trip was fully paid for.
Say it again?
Based on what the indictment says, the trip was fully paid for by the Turkish energy company. Now, what I'm asking you is, Did your client approve for that to happen? What was the reason behind that?
Did he himself attend? Did mention that my client himself was on that delegation? Some people were asked to go. They did attend. What has he himself got to explain as far as the financing of that is concerned?
But your client was the Minister of Power. If such an important negotiation was going to take place, he will know who was going, how it was being funded, and the likes. The question I'm asking you is, did you...
Calm down. I'm advising your colleagues. Some of this matter, when they come up, you see, opportunity of talking to the life of lawyers and those who are some involvement with this matter some time and study the subject matter. If you had, you won't be asking these questions. They are very clear what the procedure is. At the time how myself was the Deputy Minister of Energy, up to now, the procedure has been very clear. Those who go and how it is financed is very clear. So you're asking me that my client know or you didn't know or all that, you know, and I'm telling you some other questions. I'm not going
but is it normal for, you know, the foreign company to fund their trips?
Say that again.
I'm asking, is it usual practice for the foreign company to fund the trips of government officials who are going to negotiate an agreement of this nature?
At the time that I was responsible for some of these things, the matter will be very clearly put to the persons attending and to ensure that the proper inspection is has taken place. As to who funds it, it's not the question that my client is being dragged into. He is being dragged into the matter of having allegedly been given $1 million. That's what we are dealing with. You have any more questions on that?
Did he receive the $1 million?
Behave yourself. I mean, are you cross-examining me? I've written a statement of the instructions of my client. You're asking me a question on it, and look at the question you're asking me. I mean, are you cross-examining me? Did he take me? What a question to ask. Sorry, what's your name again? I'll make sure that I won't take your calls again.
Well,
what's your name?
Honorable.
Well, I mean, how can you? Is it professional to ask such a question?
Some questions may be uncomfortable, but they have to be asked. One of those questions...
Be careful. No, I appreciate how journalists operate. So don't hide behind questions which are not comfortable. That's not the issue at all. But if you ask me, am I at the cross-examination? Did your client take the money? What are you talking about? That's absolutely unfortunate. Perhaps the language I can use. Very unfortunate question to ask.
Very well. Let's move on to some other issues that have come up then. EOCO has said that over the last year, they have been working with people who have been named in terms of their work with U.S. officials on this matter. Is your client one of those who's spoken to EOCO in the last year on this matter?
I'm not so instructed.
Very well. Honorable, you yourself was ranking on the Energy Committee at the time this document was ratified.
You think the likes of KTR, so we are cheap people, isn't it? You see, what I said to a colleague of yours this morning is that when this matter came, you people should have been very, very careful in analyzing it. It's not every news, and of course I know every bad news is good news for journalists. You should appreciate it. Look at me.
I do not believe that is what is happening. And if you let me land on the question, perhaps you see the value in that.
All right, let me listen to you.
Very well. Now, I'm saying that at the time AXA Energy deal came to Parliament to be ratified in July, you were ranking on the Energy Committee. The indictment appears to say that some elbows were greased in Parliament as a result.
You see, I anticipated the question. I was answering and you said I should let you complete, and you are compounding it. That is not... Read it, please. You see, you're not doing service to yourself. You haven't read the documents properly, and you are just going about the frolic of your own and asking any questions.
What is your understanding of the $46,000 that went to Parliament?
If you have read it, now I'm speaking for myself, if you have read it, you will see that the allegation is that somebody went somewhere and said that they needed this money from somewhere to bring it to somewhere to be given to members of Parliament. And from what I have read, at one point the money was supposed to be $30,000, and then I seen that they said another $10,000 must have been added, and then I see that some $6,000 was added, and it got to 46 or so, and it was supposed to have been given to 18 members of parliament, including our clerks, the staff, making a total of about 20-something thousand for what is it? You don't get it among it's that cheap, you know. Could you move on to another question, please? You should have discounted this thing almost immediately because there's no suggestion in the American documentation which says that members of parliament received somebody foolishly alleging that this is what happened, and somehow you guys are interested in it. Members of parliament. There's allegation that they gave 250,000 to this is 1,000, this 1,000. About 18, 20-something members of parliament must have been given 40-something they talk about. And we're asking questions on this. How can you not rule this out of hand that it's a kind of foolish and silly allegation?
Right. So then...
It's not that cheap, you know?
I think you have fairly responded to it. What was contained in the indictment? You have fairly captured it and responded to it. That money couldn't have come to the members on the committee.
Sorry, the line is not very good. What do you say? Repeat that.
Can you hear me? I'm saying that you have fairly responded to the question.
I can hear you. Yeah, go on.
I'm only saying that you have fairly responded to the question. In that you are saying that $46,000 or so could not have come to members on the committee at the time, correct?
You heard what I said.
Very well, Katie. I want us to look at this issue and how you want the Ghanaian people to interpret what we are reading from the indictment, because the Attorney General says, look, we are also going to look at the Ghanaian dimension of this matter. How does that come to you?
Attorney General, the prerogative of investigating anything, absolutely nothing to do with me. I mean, let Attorney General do his work. I'm doing my work now as counsel of Kwaradonko, and you're taking the process to also ask me about my own position when it came to what we did in Parliament. That's fine. The General intends to do is a matter of his own prerogative and matter for him.
We'll leave it here. I appreciate your time, Honorable. Katie Hammond is former Adansia Sokwa MP. He's also counsel for former Minister of Power, Dr. Kwabena Donkor. We've been looking at that indictment that puts a spotlight on his tenure as Minister for Power. But remember, we've talked about a number of things right now. That statement from Kwabena Donkor through his counsel, Katie Hammond. Katie Hammond himself, what could have been the role of the Select Committee in leading to the ratification of that AXA deal in Parliament. He's clarified that point as well. And then we've looked at EOCO statement. And I didn't finish. I want to finish that EOCO statement just before I bring in Martin Kpebu. Because EOCO statements that, most important part of the statement, point 3 on that, says last year, EOCO received a request from its counterparts in the United States in connection with investigations into the alleged bribery scheme. The request sought information relating to specific individuals in Ghana who were considered relevant to the investigations, including a former Minister of State and public servants. Then point 5 on that says, the office also closely monitored the proceedings in the United States, given the nature of the allegations and the international dimensions of the case. EOCO considered the evidence emerging from the U.S. proceedings to be potentially material to determining the appropriate scope and direction of any comprehensive investigation in Ghana. Now, that's the statement coming from EOCO. The most important parts of it is what I have shared with you. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner joining us now. Counsel, you heard my conversation with Katie Hammond, who is head of chambers at Cavendish. He's counsel for the former power minister, Dr. Kwabena Donkor, expressly denying any involvement or whatsoever in this corruption scandal. Talk to me about your readings into our conversation. Counsel, can you hear me?
Okay. So, for Katie, we all know Katie.
Lawyer, can you hear me?
Sometimes that's the way he jokes. Sometimes you hear him. Yes. Hello? Hello?
Right, go ahead.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, yes, Counsel, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes. So I said, that's how... okay. I said, that's how Katie always handles his interviews, like the way the banter went on between the two of you. So we've come to accept that that's how he handles issues. So you try to drama around it. So in the substance, as you see, he's denied it. Of course, some of the questions ruffled him. Yes, your questions ruffled him. But as I said, the substance of it is that he's denying the involvement of Kwabena Donkor and the involvement of he himself as part of the Parliamentary Select Committee on Energy, Mines, blah, 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 right? Yes. So, and even apart from Kwabena Donkor engaging Katie Hammond, he's been on social media and other media where he has strenuously denied. I remember even engaging him a little bit on one of the WhatsApp platforms. There's a popular WhatsApp platform in Ghana called Alert with Adam Bona. Yeah, he's on it. And then that place, he kept bringing information, trying to show that he wasn't the one who took any bribe, not knowing those were reactions he had already made on Facebook to a post earlier on made by a certain lady called Ajua Enima. So she first put Katie's picture on Facebook and said, this is the minister who was minister at the time, the bribes were paid, etc. So Katie went on Facebook and replied that no, he wasn't the one, etc. Then Katie brought those information to the WhatsApp group. I said created by Adam Bona, the chief executive of the Small Arms Commission. And so that place, I got the opportunity to, make a few statements about Kwabena Donkor's narration of the events. So Kwabena Donkor in those days has been saying that at the time the bribes were paid, he was not in office. That's in September. And of course, he resigned at the end of 2015. Sometime in December 2015, 1/5. And that the bribes were paid in 2016, 1/6, when he was not in office. So far, that is his statement. That is what he's been saying. So what I would say at this stage is that, well, let the investigations go on. If Beko is willing to cooperate, he would come and tell us the persons he paid to. Because once he's saying payments were made, then we pray that since he's a dual citizen of the US and Ghana, he should help us. It is duty under Article 41 of the Constitution of Ghana.
Very well. So Council, just to correct that point, when you look at the indictment, the bribes were not all paid in 2016. This is something that began in 2014, took form early 2015, and as of the April 19, 2015, investigators were able to retrieve emails between the convicted former TOR MD in the US now and who was supposed to be his co-conspirators in Ghana, indicating some monies had already been paid and were being pressured to even pay more. So it is not true that no bribes were paid at the time that Dr. Kwabena Donkor was the power minister. That is not to say he's the one who accepted the bribe. Just to clarify the point for those who are listening. As his counsel has explained to us, he has never met this man or any of his allies before, and he denies ever receiving any money. But counsel, back to the question of the denial that he's denied. He's told us that he's not involved. Is that enough for a case like this? Or should Ghanaian authorities take it up? And if Ghanaian authorities were taking this up, what exactly would they be looking for in the face of the law?
Good. So under the law, unfortunately, we don't have a law yet that says that he must come and volunteer the truth. Rather, the law is that he who alleges must prove. So since it is the state that is taking up the case, under the Constitution of Ghana, Article 19, Clause 2C, a person is innocent of a criminal offense until he's proven guilty. So it is the investigators who would dig dig, or if you like, mine, and come up with the gold. That's to say the evidence that will show that X is guilty, Y is guilty, W is guilty. Then they will present these things to the court. And then that's how come whoever is presented before the court would then also give his answer. So if his answer is able to create some doubt, then the person walks free. If it's not creating a doubt, then generally the person will be found guilty. So it's the Ghanaian authorities, EOCO and OSP, that will go into this so that they would come up with the evidence. And of course, the Court of Public Opinion will start discussing the evidence even ahead of the court. I mean, the court, judicial court itself. Yeah, it's part of our democracy. We will not be able to wait till the judgment is done. We'll start in the Court of Public Opinion. So by all means, let the discussions go on. But for now, the duty is legally on the shoulders or the head of the investigative authorities. But nothing also prevents those people who took the bribes from coming to confess. Yes, nothing prevents them from coming to confess that, look, we are sorry, we took this money, we are sorry, we're contrite heart, we want to be forgiven, we want to pay it, this and back, etc. Nothing stops them in law.
Very well. What we've tried to do also is, in the aftermath of this, compared to the aftermath of the Airbus scandal, Ghanaian authorities took interest in that. But at the end of the day, that investigation appeared not to have come to the kind of conclusion that the Ghanaian people thought it would come to. So when we are asking Ghanaian authorities to investigate this matter, how hopeful are you that this could get to a conclusive end?
Oh, it's good. No matter what, we must also investigate. Yes, so as you mentioned, the Airbus one, it's good we went into it. So we were able to come to the bottom of it, at least as far as it's publicly available. So it also showed, just in case we forgot, the Airbus one, at least at the end of the day, it showed that what happened wasn't good, even though it didn't amount to a criminal offense. So remember Kisei Jabin's conclusion at the time. Yeah, he berated the current president, JM, for a lack of judgment in that case. He said, no, it wasn't good. It's marked of conflict of interest, but not a criminal offense. You can refer back to it. I remember, so at that time, I even commented, and people insulted me. Though I was supporting JM at the time, we knew he would win the elections, but we also cautioned him that when he wins, like he has won now, when he comes back into office, he should be very mindful of that. So please, for the record, the OSP investigations said that for a criminal offense of corruption, bribery, they didn't establish same against JM. But
Precisely.
the case marked of conflict of interest. So which is that, like if you put a table, JM was sitting as representing Ghana to negotiate for the purchase of the aircraft, etc. And his brother, Foster, was sitting at the other end. Obviously, two brothers, one for Ghana, one for the aircraft manufacturing company. It's not a good picture. So
Precisely.
It's been worth it. So let this one also go its full length, and we'll see what will come out of it.
Precisely.
But let's note that this one is a bit different, because this one, the person who has paid the bribes is alive. So he has to come and tell us who those persons are.
We'll leave it here and see how this plays out. Thank you so much for your time. Martin Kpebu is a private legal practitioner. We've just been looking at how these latest developments flies in the face of the Ghanaian law. Away from that, A forensic audit of Ghana's embassy in Washington, D.C. by the Auditor General's Department has uncovered what it describes as a multi-million-dollar financial irregularity involving visa and passport applicants. Now, the audit puts the total financial exposure at $19.3 million between the period 2019 and 2025. Now, at the center of the findings are charges imposed on applicants for services including document dispatch, mailing and application support. The special audit follows a formal complaint by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs about illegal activities involving some embassy officials and a private contractor. You may have seen that sometime last year here on this channel. The forensic audit report is now concluded, and what you see on your screen now are aspects of it. Nearly $20 million in estimated cost of the irregularities seen at the Ghana embassy between the period 2019 and 2025. More on that in later broadcasts. You're live here on The Daily Brief. I am Kemini Aman. I'll take a quick break. When I come back, let's conclude with some politics. Now, Vice President Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman is pushing back against early succession discussions. Her reason, the NDC should concentrate on delivering the mandates Ghanaians gave first. Professor Opoku-Agyeman believes it is too early to have a conversation about his successor to President John Dramani Mahama halfway into his term. Take a listen.
Would you consider running for president?
I knew that question was the way you were giving all kinds of... Listen, that's my response. We worked very, very hard at our manifesto. It took a number of years. Our methodology was demanding, and our presidential candidate then took the lead. He had a speak out tour, if you remember.
Yeah.
Poor man, going around the country, engaging people. We followed when we did the manifesto. People volunteered, and I want to use this medium to thank them. People flew into Accra. People drove, just coming to share ideas on how we could reset our country. We didn't have money. Listen, it was a very, very good experience, but we all felt energized. Mm-hmm. We had a draft of a manifesto. We stepped out to campaign, went everywhere. The people of Ghana were merciful. They voted for us for a reason. They voted massively, and we remain grateful. They didn't vote for us today to be talking about going or not going. They said we should come and solve the problems. Mm-hmm. We have an agenda. What we inherited was a very, very tough situation. We have work to do. Whether we are going or coming depends on the work we are doing. It depends on the support we are giving our president, who is leading the charge. And it depends on the quality of support we are giving. And if you're already going left and right and center and back, and it's not even time, I think it's a betrayal of the cause of the people. And I don't think it is right. So please help us to fulfill the dreams of this beautiful country.
Let's have a quick chat on the back of this. I'll bring in now political analyst, Dr. Jonathan Asante-Otre. Doc, good evening to you. I know you have a lot of respect for the Vice President, Professor Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman, because of your own personal relationship with her. But when you hear her talk about this, with the backdrop of polls that we have seen, what's your analysis of the situation?
Demonstrated, high sense of maturity with respect to the politics of the day. She has been very consistent with this particular issue. There's always been a position that they have been given a mandate, and that mandate is to ensure that President Mahama succeeds. And so I'm not surprised that she's been able to, say it out there. In actual fact, it is also a message to all those who are jockeying for that particular position. And that is the more reason why some of us said that some of the polls that came, on either quarterly or monthly, they were just distraction for the government. And people did not understand, some of us. But that I said point blankly that it was a distraction. You need to be well focused. And there are some who believe that, the president ought to become a lame duck government or a lame duck president. I think it's a little too early for something of that sort to happen. Because there are two main things that if you want to succeed the president, you will have to ensure that it is done. And that is the first thing she spoke about, the mandate, the economy, the run of the economy, the legacy that the president will want to leave behind. That alone will be the trump card for any successor of the president. That is, you cannot go out there campaigning on emptiness. You're going to campaign on the record of the NDC, led by the president. And so, whichever way you look at it, you would need the support of the sitting president, unless it becomes, a bad publicity, as it were, for him to accompany and do certain things to help your campaign in terms of wanting to succeed you. The second thing is the transition, which I've said, that if the transition is not done properly, it could create a crack within the party. And so when the Council of Elders, for example, waded in by coming up with a certain edict, from that time up to this point, there's been some kind of peace, some respect, mutual respect for all and sundry, especially those who are eyeing that particular seat. And so if the transition is properly done, I think that will inure to their benefit come 2028. And so the vice president couldn't have been more right on this particular issue.
But at some point, those who are interested would have to make it known. We know the party has its own, regulation on that. But at what point does it become okay to talk about your interests? Because remember that the current president will not be retaining this role come 2028. So when does it become okay?
The party has a calendar that they want to follow. They have a constitution that you have a sitting president until 1 year into the next election. That is when a flag bearer will be chosen. So it is not time yet. Now, when will that person be chosen? It's as if you are creating a scenario that it will be a little too late. I don't think that is the case. Don't forget, in 2012, the late President Mills died, right? It took 6 months for President Mahama to campaign and to have the goodwill of the people, got sympathy vote as well, and won the elections. Now, the two main political parties, I'm of the view that they have what it takes to market any candidate of their choosing. It doesn't matter whether the person has been there for years or not. No. Even if the person is relatively new, they have the capacity, as it were, to make that person be a household name, within the politics and among the electorate. So I don't think that is definitely going to be something late. Besides, apart from ministers, apart from executives, apart from, people occupying, the presidency, maybe Flagstaff House or Jubilee House and so on and so forth, most of these people are already known to the electorate. So once you are chosen and you gain that, groundswell acceptability from
Very
all
well.
and send, you are good to go.
Very
But
well.
you have to ensure that the government is in good state because it is good for you and for your future campaign.
Absolutely. Right on the money. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochre is a political analyst who's just been looking at recent comments from the Vice President, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. Well, thank you very much for your company here on the Daily Brief. I am Kemini Amano, and you've been briefed.